So good afternoon everyone. My name is Abhay Singh and I welcome you all in today's video analysis of The Hindu. Today is 4th of October 2024 and we'll start with the first news headline for the day. And this particular news headline is very important for us to understand from the examination point of view as well as from the the overall development of a personality. So this particular recent pronouncement of the Supreme Court is related to the rights of the prisoners vis-a-vis Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Now Article 21 of the Indian Constitution is one of the most important right that is available to any of the Indian. So now what Supreme Court has pronounced during this while pronouncing this particular judgment, Supreme Court has observed that though prisoners have done certain crimes but fundamental rights are also available to them. These fundamental rights are inalienable. These fundamental rights cannot be extinguished in any cases until and unless some constitutional restriction have been imposed for the similar purpose. Now we have to discuss few important things while discussing this particular news item, and the first important thing that we have to discuss is basically is Article 17. Now Article 17 is basically, now we'll start. The Supreme Court on Thursday declared that caste-based discrimination of prisoners, segregation of their work according to the caste hierarchy, and the treatment of inmates from the denotified tribes as habitual offenders within prison walls across India are oppressive to fundamental human dignity and personality. The top court directed the revision of prison manuals within 3 months. So this is one important thing that the Honorable Supreme Court of India has given the 3 months time. 3 month का टाइम दिया है पार्लियामेंट को कि within 3 months they have to amend the this prison manual which was released in 2016. Now it ordered the deletion of the caste column and any reference to caste from registers of under trials convicts maintained in prison. So basically the another important pronouncement is that the Supreme Court has ordered that the caste column should be removed from the form registration from या जो भी रेफरेंस फॉर्म्स होते हैं रजिस्टर्स होते हैं अंडर ट्रायल प्रिजनर्स के, उस पर्टिकुलर रजिस्टर से बेसिकली हमें रिमूव कर देना है कास्ट वाला कॉलम. नाउ मूविंग ऑन, the court underscored the members of denotified tribe must not be subjected to any arbitrary arrest. So basically what Supreme Court has suggested, just because a particular person belongs to a specific caste or a denotified tribe, these persons or these denotified tribe should not be subjected to the arbitrary arrest. इनका arbitrary arrest नहीं होना चाहिए. Everyone is born equal. There cannot be a stigma attached to the existence, touch or presence of any person. More than 75 years since independence, we have not been able to eradicate the evil of caste discrimination. A 3-judge bench headed by D.Y. Chandrachud observed. The CJI who authored the judgment referred to Article 15 Clause 1. So this is the first important provision of the Constitution that have been discussed while pronouncing the judgment. This is Article 15 Clause 1 of the Constitution, which enshrines the fundamental rights against discrimination. But if the state itself discriminates against a citizen, then it is a discrimination of the highest form. So now this is one of the most major observation that was being made by the Honorable Supreme Court, that Article 15 Clause 1 of the Indian Constitution protects the individual against the discrimination. But if this particular discrimination is done by the state itself, because fundamental rights are available against the state, but if the state in itself is violating these fundamental rights which are provided under Article 15 Clause 1, then this will be the violation of highest form. Now moving on, after all, the state is expected to prevent discrimination, not perpetuate it, he noted. He held that discrimination among prisoners and distribution of work on the basis of caste amounted to untouchability, which is forbidden under Article 17 of the Indian Constitution. Now another important article that have been discussed while pronouncing this particular judgment is Article 17. So Article 17 of the Indian Constitution clearly prohibits the abolition, or clearly states the abolition of untouchability. Now untouchability has been abolished from the India as per Article 17, and even if in the jail comes under the authority of state, fundamental rights are available against the state. It means that even if the person is residing inside the prison, even if the person is inside the prison, then also his fundamental rights coexist with the other person. Uske fundamental rights coexist karte hain though he is in the jail. So you cannot violate Article 15 Clause 1 and Article 17 of any person. So basically jail में हो क्या रहा था कि जो कास्ट के बेसिस पे उनको अलग अलग तरीके के वर्क अलॉट किए जा रहे थे. इफ यू आर फ्रॉम इफ यू आर फ्रॉम अ लोअर कास्ट, और इफ यू आर फ्रॉम a specific category of, if you belong to a specific category of people, or the people of that specific category perform certain kind of work, then the jail authorities used to allot those kind of work to those jail inmates only. So for that specific reason, this particular article was very very important. We have to discuss, we have to remember one thing, that fundamental rights which are provided under article 21 are of utmost importance. Now I have something with me, I want to discuss it with you. I have done a bit of research as well related to this specific topic, so you can look into these specific specifications and specifics. So let's start one by one. We'll start one by one. So first of all, let's understand the international document which is available. The first or the major international document which is available related to this prison manual. So basically in India there is the concept of prison manual. So in India, prison manual was released by the government in 2016. Now the next important authority that we have to discuss it with, one of the resolution which was brought by United Nations Human Rights, United Nations Human Rights Office of High Commissioner. So now this United Nations Human Rights Office of High Commissioner in 1990. In 1990 there was one resolution which was brought by General Assembly. The resolution was resolution number 45 by 111, 45 by 111, which was adopted on 14th of December 1990. Now this particular resolution becomes very very important. Now name of this particular resolution becomes also very important. So this particular resolution was brought by the General Assembly, and it is regulated by United Nations Human Rights Office of the High Commissioner. It was adopted on 14th of December 1990, and the resolution number was 45 by 111, 45 by 111. So let's understand the title of this particular specific resolution which was brought by the General Assembly in 1990. So the title of the resolution was Prison Manual Basic principles for the treatment of prisoners. So this is the major document which was brought by the General Assembly in 1919. This particular document was adopted on 14th of December 1990, which provides basic rights which are available to each and every prisoner all around the world. Now the next important thing from the Indian point of view, or from the Indian context, is this particular prison manual which was brought by the government in 2016. Now the Supreme Court has requested or ordered the Parliament to rectify or to amend this particular prison manual of 2016 within 3 months. So this was the international document. Now we have one important case to discuss as well. Now this particular case is extremely important for us to discuss. The name of the case is AP Challa versus Ramakrishna Reddy and others. So this is one important judgment of the Supreme Court. This particular judgment was pronounced in the year 2000. So after 24 years will be discussing this specific judgment, that is AP Challa versus Ramakrishna Reddy and others. Now in this particular case, the Supreme Court of India ruled that prisoners, now this is the most important line, I am quoting it, prisoners retain all their fundamental rights unless their liberty has been constitutionally restricted. Now after reading this particular case, you will understand each and everything in much detail. So in AP Challa versus Ramakrishna Reddy and others, this particular judgment was pronounced by the Honorable Supreme Court of India in 2000. In this particular judgment, Supreme Court ruled that prisoners retain all their fundamental rights unless their liberty has been constitutionally restricted. So unless the restriction on their fundamental rights have been imposed by the Constitution itself, then restrictions will apply, and until and unless Constitution does not apply any kind of restriction, the state has no authority to breach these fundamental rights, and the rights of the prisoners was very much violated in the prisons. That's why Supreme Court of India has to come forward and deliver certain important ruled out some important things like that they have to remove the caste column, they have to amend the prisoners manual of 2016. Now the primary act which regulates the legal framework related to prisons in India is the Prisoners Act of 1984. So you also have to remember, you can remember this particular information as well, that which is the parent act, which regulates prisons in India. So the parent act is the Prisoners Act of 1984. The Prisoners Act of 1984. The Prisoners Act of 1984 is the principal and main regulatory law related to prisons in India. So this is one important thing that you have to remember, and you should remember that the Prisoners Act of 1984 is the main and the parent act which regulates the things related to prison in India. The prison manual was released in 2016, which have been asked to amend by the Honorable Supreme Court. Now let's shift our focus on the next important news headline for the day. So when the budget was announced on 23rd of July 2024 for the 7th time by the Honorable Finance Minister of India, Nirmala Sitharaman, so while one of the most important highlight of that particular budget was the announcement of a new scheme by the Finance Ministry that will target 4.1 crore Indian youth. And the central government or the union government will provide employment and job opportunities to employment, job opportunities and internship opportunities to 4.1 crore Indian youth in next 5 years. The budget of this particular scheme was 2 lakh crore rupees. Government of India will spend 2 lakh crore rupees over the period of next 5 years to provide internship job opportunities and skill enhancement opportunities to 4.1 crore Indian youth. Now let's start. So basically the government has started the pilot project to test the efficiency of this particular scheme. So the union government on Thursday opened up a platform for India's top 500 companies to participate in the one-year internship scheme announced in this year's union budget to bridge the gap between the skill set of unemployable youth and those needed by employers. So recently, while announcing this particular scheme, the government was very much of the opinion that it will provide these job opportunities in the top 500 most valuable companies of India. टॉप 500 मोस्ट वैल्यूएबल कंपनीज ऑफ इंडिया. जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज और इंटर्नशिप अपॉर्चुनिटी कहां प्रोवाइड की जाएगी? जो सबसे ज्यादा 500 वैल्यूएबल कंपनीज हैं इंडिया की, उनमें. Now as many as 111 corporates including the Mahindra and Mahindra Group, Max Life Insurance, not important, offering 1077 internships. So these few firms are basically offering 1077 internship. So which is this is not important. Now this kicks off a process that is expected to result in about 1 lakh youngsters joining the on-job training exercise officially called the Prime Minister Internship Scheme in top companies by December 2. So by December 2, the government will provide this opportunity to 1 lakh youngsters under this particular scheme, और जिसका नाम क्या है? The Prime Minister's Internship Scheme. So basically जो top 500 companies में टॉप 500 कंपनीज में इंटर्नशिप प्रोवाइड करने की स्कीम थी. इसका नाम क्या है? द प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स इंटर्नशिप स्कीम. द प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स internship scheme. So now one major announcement which I want to make is that the CLAT examination is on 1st of December, and the government has set the target that by December 2, by the 2nd December, it will provide job internship opportunities to 1 lakh Indian youth in top 500 companies. So for that specific reason, the name of the scheme becomes very important, the Prime Minister's Internship Scheme. Now we are moving into the next important news headline for the day, and remember this, while discussing the union budget of 2024-25, not the interim budget, the budget which was presented on 23rd of July 2024 by the Nirmala Sitharaman, we have already discussed that this particular scheme which the target of which is to provide internship opportunities to 4.1 crore Indian youth is extremely important. So on that note, we'll move to the next important news headline for the day. Now, so recently, the Supreme Court of India has asked, that if it will not provide any kind of insight to the Supreme Court, then it will start, entertaining the petitions related to marital rape. So, in response to that specific notice, the central government has said that marital relations must be exempted from the rape provisions. Central tells the apex court. Now, why central government is requesting that the offense of marital rape should not be considered at all? Because the central government was of the opinion that it will directly impact the institution of marriage, and which will create a kind of imbalance in the society. For that specific reason, central government has requested that the Supreme Court should not entertain the petitions related to the marital rape. Now, when we talk about the offense of marital rape, then we have to understand that division bench of the Honorable Delhi High Court has delivered a split verdict on the same issue related to marital rape. So now the matter is in the Supreme Court. Now the demographics of marriage are sui generis. Now what do we mean by sui generis? So sui generis means basically of same nature, of same kind, right? The demographics of a marriage are sui generis. There are plenty of examples of male-female relationship. However, the relationship between a husband and wife, which emerges as a result of the tying of the matrimonial knot, is distinct from all of these relationships. To ignore or even to seek to undermine this is to ignore plain reality, the government argued. The union government was responding to a bunch of public interest litigation seeking to strike down exception 2 of section 375 of Indian Penal Code. The provision exclude non-consensual sex and intercourse by a husband with his wife if the latter is over 15 years of age from the definition of rape. Now, from the examination point of view, this particular information is extremely relevant for us to understand that exception 2, which is provided in under section 375. So exception 2 of section 375 clearly provides that if a husband involves itself in a non-consensual sexual intercourse, if the age of wife is above 15 years, अगर वाइफ की एज 15 साल से ज़्यादा की है, तो अगर वो इंटरकोर्स नॉन कंसेंशुअल भी है, फिर भी उसे हम रेप कंसीडर नहीं करेंगे, बिकॉज इट वॉज परफॉर्म्ड इन द मैरिज. वो मैरिज हो जाने के बाद इंटरकोर्स परफॉर्म किया जा रहा है, इस वजह से उसे हम रेप की डेफिनेशन में इंक्लूड नहीं करते हैं. बस इस आर्टिकल को हम यहीं पे थोड़ा सा इसको एक फुल स्टॉप देंगे और फिर हम आगे बढ़ेंगे. बट बिफोर मूविंग इनटू द नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट आर्टिकल, I'll end this, or I'll wrap up this article with a specific question, and the question is very simple and plain. Suppose there is this girl, she's 22 years old. Now she's 22 years old. Now before the marriage, suppose her marriage is supposed to take place. There is this person A, there is this person B. She's female, so we can call her XX, and this person is male, we can call him XY. Now this their marriage is scheduled to take place on 22nd of January 2025. So what happened, like take one example, on 21st of January 2025, this person XY tries to commit the offense of rape without taking the consent of this person XX, then this person XY will be prosecuted under section 375 and punished under section 376 of Indian Penal Code. We are taking this example, we are understanding this situation with the context of Indian Penal Code. Now this XX is a woman, this XY is a man. Their marriage was scheduled to take place on 22nd of January 2025. Now what happened on 21st of January 2025, that this person XY tries to commit the offense of rape on XX, and so he was prosecuted under section 375 and punished under 376 for a very simple reason, because they have not tied the matrimonial knot. Now let's take another example. Now their marriage took place on 22nd of January 2025. Now what happened on 23rd of January 2025, that without taking the consent of his wife, that is XX, this person XY tries to establish or tries to involve himself in a sexual intercourse, and he was successful in establishing the offense of intercourse or sexual intercourse. Now in situation 1, the person will be prosecuted under section 375 of Indian Penal Code, but under situation 2, the person will not be prosecuted under the section 375. So my question is very simple: does marriage allows a woman to waive her consent? क्या मैरिज हो जाने के बाद एक वुमेन का अपने सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स एस्टैब्लिश करना चाहती है या नहीं, इसके लिए जो उसका कंसेंट देने का राइट होता है, क्या वो इम्प्लाइडली उसको वेव कर देती है? दिस इज माय क्वेश्चन, एंड यू शुड बी thinking more about this particular concept, because at the end of the day we are living in the Indian society and we all are going to tie the matrimonial knots. So for that specific reason you should understand that how Indian society is actually functioning. And we say that we have progressed so much, we are 75 years हो गए इंडिपेंडेंस के, nothing is actually working. अगर ऐसा है तो फिर इसका एक कोई रीजन ये बता दे कि as soon as you tie the matrimonial knot, आपकी कंसेंट इम्प्लाइडली क्यों वेव ऑफ मान ली जाती है. ठीक है, अब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं. अब हम कुछ फैक्चुअली इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूज आइटम्स की तरफ आगे बढ़ते हैं, जो हमारे लिए फैक्चुअली थोड़ा सा इंपॉर्टेंट है. So again these are political news headlines, and I don't say by God's grace, बस again this is India. यहाँ पे जो इंडिया का सबसे बड़ा फेस्टिवल है that is elections होते ही रहते हैं. जम्मू कश्मीर में अभी 1 अक्टूबर को खत्म हुए, हरियाणा में शायद आज खत्म हो रहे हैं, फिर महाराष्ट्र में इलेक्शंस हैं, झारखंड में इलेक्शंस हैं. तो इस सारे रीजंस की वजह से जो मोस्ट ऑफ द पोर्शंस रहता है फर्स्ट पेज से लेकर के एडिटोरियल के बीच का, वो सारा इन्हीं पॉलिटिकल न्यूज में ही ऑक्यूपाइड रहता है. राहुल टू अनवील शिवाजी स्टैच्यू इन कोल्हापुर, blow poll bagel. Now again this is a one political news. Pragya Thakur blames Simi for 2000 attack Malegaon blast. Again not important. Now so we have been following this particular news items with the utmost attention, that the Bombay High Court seeks inquiry report on killing of the Badlapur case accused by November 18. So recently the Badlapur sexual assault accused Mr. Akshay Shinde was encountered by the Bombay police. While he was taken out from while he was taken from the jail or the police custody. So the police shot him point blank. And as per the rule, if a person is trying to flee the spot, then police can shoot him on the legs. बट पुलिस ने क्या किया, उसके सर पे गोली मारी, उसकी ऑन द स्पॉट डेथ हो गई अक्यूज की, जो बदलापुर सेक्सुअल असॉल्ट का अक्यूज था अक्षय शिंदे. फिर उस पर बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट ने उस पर्टिकुलर, अब जो अक्यूज के फादर थे वो हाई कोर्ट जाते हैं, और हाई कोर्ट बेसिकली कहता है, High Court poses, High Court put some tough questions in the front of the police officials, and they were not able to answer those questions. So to investigate the matter into each and every kind of detail, the Bombay High Court has formed a committee, has established an inquiry commission, and the government has also, the government of Maharashtra has also established a single member inquiry commission, which will be headed by Justice Justice Bhosle, the Chief Justice of the former Chief Justice of Allahabad High Court. He will head that particular inquiry commission. Now, the Bombay High Court on Thursday ordered an expedited magisterial inquiry. So, after the order of the of the Maharashtra government, that Maharashtra government has constituted a single member inquiry commission to investigate the case of this, to investigate the this unaccounted encounter which was conducted by the Maharashtra government. Now the Bombay High Court has also taken one of the most important step, that it has ordered an magisterial inquiry, and this magisterial inquiry should be completed by November 18 तक इस magisterial inquiry को complete कर लेना है. Now we have to understand one thing when it comes to such heinous offenses. I am not promoting or motivating for any specific kind of thing, but again, there is a proper system, and sometimes we should wait for that specific system to perform. Otherwise, these institutes will become non-functional. Now, at the end of the day, it is the court, or it is the court in India. The courts in India are empowered with this specific responsibility that they have to, deliver or dispense the justice. But before that particular person was put into that particular process, the police has shot down that specific person. Now the allegations from the father side are that कि महाराष्ट्र में इलेक्शंस आने वाले हैं, इस वजह से महाराष्ट्र की गवर्नमेंट ने अपनी वाहवाही के लिए क्या किया कि उस अक्यूज्ड को ऑन द स्पॉट मरवा दिया. सो दिस वाज द काइंड ऑफ स्टेटमेंट जो अक्यूज्ड के फादर दे रहे हैं. तो हमें ये सारी चीज़ें समझनी चाहिए कि प्राइमा फेसाई कई बार हमें जो चीज़ें सही लगती हैं जब हम किसी प्रोसेस में एंटर करते हैं, और उस प्रोसेस को जब हम कंप्लीट करते हैं तो हमारा वर्जन जो ओपिनियन है वो बहुत हद तक चेंज हो जाता है. सो ऐसी सिचुएशंस में कोर्ट का वेट करना चाहिए, कोर्ट के जजमेंट का वेट करना चाहिए. अगली न्यूज़ जो है वो उड़ीसा से आ रही है, एंड दिस इज एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट क्योंकि उड़ीसा में लेपर्ड का जो नंबर है वो बढ़ चुका है. उड़ीसाज लेपर्ड पॉपुलेशन हैज इंक्रीज बाय 22% in last 2 years between 2022 to 2024. 2022 to 2024, the number of leopards in Odisha has gone up from 568 to 696 in last 2 years. So it is extremely important. The All Odisha Leopard Estimation 2024 released on Thursday estimates that state's leopard population to range between 668 and 724 with a median count of 796. So the median count is 696. This number can go up to 724. So this is again one important news, that the state of Odisha has witnessed a 22% rise in the population of leopard between 2022 to 2024. Now we are moving into the next important headline. Basically, we are moving into the editorial part of today's newspaper. So an obsession with the ranking is harming India's universities. So again, इंडिया में कल ही हम लोगों ने एक आर्टिकल कवर किया था जो नेट से रिलेटेड था कि हाउ वी शुड चेंज द फॉर्मेट ऑफ दिस नेट एग्जामिनेशन, क्योंकि जो नेट का एग्जाम क्वालिफाई करने के बाद जाते हैं वो लोग बेसिकली अपना पीएचडी कंप्लीट करते हैं, एंड पीएचडी इज ऑल अबाउट रिसर्च, राइट. और आप एक रिसर्च बेस्ड एग्जाम के लिए एक मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चन बेस्ड एक एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन कंडक्ट करवा रहे हैं. तो वो सारी चीज़ें हम लोगों ने कल डील की थी, और आज हम एक दूसरा इंपॉर्टेंट आर्टिकल डील करने जा रहे हैं, अकेडमिक से रिलेटेड है. ये है बेसिकली इंडिया में जो यूनिवर्सिटी का रैंकिंग है उसको लेकर के जो एक अलग सा ऑब्सेशन है. हर बार वेट होता है कि एनआईआरएफ की रैंकिंग्स आएंगी, एंड फॉर मी आई हैव सीन हाउ दीज रैंकिंग्स एक्चुअली वर्क. When I was in my college BHUs, then I have actually closely followed this, that you cannot rely on these rankings. These rankings cannot be relied at all, because there is no one to cross check the information which is provided by the institute. Now there are only two parties involved, one which ranked the institute and another one is the institute itself. There is no third party to investigate the things which have or the kind of things which have been provided by the institute. But again, in India, everybody wants to go in a top college, in a top hospital, in a top management institute. So it is all about the fascination about the top universities, and this fascination has led to harming India's university system in the worst possible way. Now let's understand this particular article in a deep and in a complete manner. The purposes of a university is to teach and mentor future citizens. So this is the objective of why a university is established, to mentor the future citizens, so as to mentor the future of a country, to mentor the to mentor or to teach the future generations how to survive or how to live in the society. A university needs to excel in both in order to fulfill its obligation to students and society. Through its activities, a university also has a social and economic impacts. It is impossible to capture university's multidimensional nature with a single metric represented by a global or national rank. Yet this is what ranking system claims to do. So again we have to understand अब आप यूनिवर्सिटी के रैंकिंग सिस्टम को नहीं, आप ओवरऑल किसी भी रैंकिंग सिस्टम को आप इससे कंपेयर कर लीजिए, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट वी आर एक्चुअली डिस्कसिंग हियर. नाउ ओवर एम्फेसिस ऑन रिसर्च. द ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी रैंकिंग सिस्टम इज वन डायमेंशनल. It places huge emphasis on research activity. Now, so the global university ranking system is not a multi-dimensional. It is a single dimensional. It is a single dimensional system, and in a single dimensional system, a ranking system, and in which only the emphasis or the stress is given on only one thing, and that stress is given on the university ranking system. Now. Ma'am, National Institute Ranking Framework, I guess, NIRF. A university's research output is quantified using criteria such as the number of papers published, the impact factor of the journals in which they are published, the amount of research funding acquired, and the number of PhD students who are admitted and graduated. Now, this is all about how things runs globally, कि हम क्या-क्या चीज़ों को actually में consider करते हैं, while क्या-क्या चीज़ों को हम consider करते हैं, while this डूइंग द प्रोसेस ऑफ रैंकिंग, कि हम ये चीज़ देखते हैं कि कितने स्टूडेंट्स को हमने पीएचडी में एडमिट किया और कितने लोग एक्चुअली ग्रेजुएट हुए, कितना ज़्यादा आपने रिसर्च पेपर पब्लिश किया. तो ये सारी चीज़ें हैं जो इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे हम कंसीडर करते हैं जब हम किसी यूनिवर्सिटी का रैंकिंग करते हैं. नाउ लेट्स लुक एट द इंडियन कॉन्सेप्ट. इंडिया हैज़ bought into the American education system, which is shaped by a strong belief in free market capitalism and unfettered private competition. To help improve the global ranking of India's top universities and premier institutes, the government set up the Higher Education Financing Agency a few years ago, HEFA. HEFA mobilizes market resources to fund the country's global ranking aspiring institutions in the form of repayable loans at competitive interest rate. So again, how this HEFA is basically mobilizing assets or resources. हेफा कैसे रिसोर्सेज को मोबिलाइज कर रहा है, कहाँ से कहाँ तक के लिए, बेसिकली हेफा रिसोर्सेज को मोबिलाइज कर रहा है ताकि जो इंडिया में ग्लोबली टॉप लेवल पे इंस्टीट्यूट्स जाना चाहते हैं, उनके पास अगर फंड्स चाहिए तो उस फंड्स को मोबिलाइज कौन करता है, हेफा, हायर एजुकेशन फाइनेंसिंग एजेंसी. इन टैंडम द गवर्नमेंट ऑल्सो ग्रांटेड फुल ऑटोनॉमी टू सेवरल पब्लिक हायर एजुकेशन institutions. This encompasses financial autonomy as well, which means that the government will cease to support them. In other words, public higher education institution will need to generate their funds by enhancing student fees. This is touted as a win-win strategy for both the university and the government. Now, this particular strategy is extremely poor. This is not a very good strategy. That government is basically when the autonomy is given to the institute, the government pulls back its hand. Pulls back its hand, and what government do basically कि वो बेसिकली यूनिवर्सिटी को अलाउ करती है कि आप स्टूडेंट से फीस किसी भी तरीके से चार्ज कर सकते हैं. सो ये क्या है कि विन विन सिचुएशन रहता है. यूनिवर्सिटी को भी थोड़ा सा ऑटोनॉमी मिल जाती है, खुद को कैसे मैनेज करना है, चीज़ों को कैसे रेगुलेट करना है, और जो गवर्नमेंट है उस पर भी बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेशर नहीं आता. बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे स्टेक होल्डर्स जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनके बारे में किसी ने सोचा ही नहीं. सो अगेन दीज आर द थिंग्स विच आर इंपॉर्टेंट. नाउ इंपॉर्टेंटली इट इज ऑल्सो नॉट अ विन फॉर द इकोनॉमिकली वीकर सेक्शंस ऑफ द सोसाइटी. दैट्स व्हाट आई वाज सेइंग. This can be a win-win situation for university and the government. बट अगेन इन ना तो इस यूनिवर्सिटी को उस यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ना है, ना तो गवर्नमेंट को यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ना है. तो यहाँ पे विन विन सिचुएशन सिर्फ एक ही स्टेक होल्डर के लिए कंसीडर करना चाहिए, दैट इज स्टूडेंट्स. अगर कोई भी सिचुएशन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए विन विन नहीं है तो वो फिर उसका विन विन होने का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है. बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे those students are going to excel and they will bring those golden feathers. So at the end of the day these are students का ही importance है. The importance of teaching and mentoring. The metrics driven global ranking aspiring higher educational system has had an adverse impact on the teaching community. The undue emphasis on the research to the exclusion of other vital functions, especially teaching, has created a sorry situation in which university job aspirants are often judged by the number of research papers they have produced, the impact factors of the journals they were published in, and the number of their citations, and not by their ability to be an effective communicator, teacher and mentor. So now the whole concept is so flawed that this to prove a specific point, हमने पूरा सिस्टम ही चेंज कर दिया है कि व्हाट आर द qualities of a good teacher, that particular person should be a good communicator, that person should be an effective mentor, and that particular person should have a strong hold over his subject. These are the few of the important qualities of a teacher. But again, what are the things that are being considered कि जब जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज के लिए आप जाते हैं तो क्या क्या चीज़ें कंसीडर कर की जाती हैं कि आपके रिसर्च पेपर कितने पब्लिश हुए हैं, उन रिसर्च पेपर का साइटेशन कितना हुआ है, और यही नहीं, उन रिसर्च पेपर का साइटेशन कितना हुआ है और आपने जिस जर्नल में उस रिसर्च पेपर को पब्लिश किया उसका इम्पैक्ट कितना है. बट आप मुझे एक चीज़ ये बता दीजिए, क्या इन तीनों ही चीज़ों को जिनको हमने डिस्कस किया इससे आप एक अच्छे टीचर की क्वालिटी को डिसाइफर कर सकते हैं? द आंसर इज अ क्लियर नो. if a person is not an effective communicator, he cannot communicate its thought, then that particular person is not a good teacher, despite of the fact that that particular person has got 200 journals published in his against his name. बट अगर वो चीज़ वो कन्वे इफेक्टिवली नहीं कर पा रहा है तो फिर उसका कोई पॉइंट नहीं है. और जो पूरा सिस्टम है इसमें किसको इंपॉर्टेंस दी जा रही है वाइल गिविंग द जॉब एंड ऑल थिंग्स? जिनके रिसर्च पेपर ज़्यादा पब्लिश हुए हैं. क्वालिटी से ज़्यादा क्वांटिटी पे फोकस किया जा रहा है. अगेन, जिस भी जगह पे क्वालिटी से ज़्यादा क्वांटिटी पे फोकस किया गया हर बार उसे डिसअपॉइंटमेंट ही मिला है. सो दिस वाज वन थिंग. आप इसको चाहें तो पूरा कवर कर सकते हैं. आप सब लोग यूनिवर्सिटीज़ और कॉलेजेस जाने वाले हैं तो अगर आप इसको कवर करना चाहें कर सकते हैं. बट अगेन फ्रॉम द एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू जो चीज़ें इंपॉर्टेंट थी वो हम लोगों ने डिस्कस कर ली है. इसके अलावा कुछ भी इसमें इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. नाउ व्हाई इटली मैटर्स टू इंडिया. In the age of polycrisis, Italy and India share common interests but also joint challenges in the Indo-Mediterranean Sea. The reason is vital for global trade, especially for Italy, which ranks 6th among the world's largest exporters. It is also crucial for digital connectivity. The Blue Raven submarine data cables will soon connect Genoa with Mumbai. Piracy in the Red Sea, the conflict in Gaza and Lebanon, and the effect of Russia's aggression against Ukraine on the agriculture and oil trade requires our joint efforts to ensure a free, open and prosperous Indo-Mediterranean. So now again अभी हम रेड सी की बात कर रहे थे, राइट? रेड सी की बात. सो उसमें भी अब आ गया कि हमस हिजबुल्ला और हाउदी रेबल्स ने बोला है कि हम जो रेड सी में जो मूवमेंट होगा गुड्स का उसको हम थोड़ा सा दिक्कत देंगे, हम उस पर भी मिसाइल्स फायर करेंगे. तो अगर अब कोई वहाँ पर अपना मूवमेंट करता है तो उसका खुद का रिस्क है. सो दीज आर द थिंग. देयरफॉर इटली हैज स्टेप्ड अप एज अ कमिटमेंट इन सिक्योरिटी एंड डिफेंस इन द इंडियन ओशन रीजन एंड वेस्ट एशिया. अपार्ट फ्रॉम ज्वाइनिंग द ग्रुप ऑफ फ्रेंड्स ऑफ यूएन क्लॉज United Nations Commission on Laws of Sea in 2021, it has been the second largest contributor to the European Union Naval Force Atlanta and the European Maritime Awareness in the Strait of Hormuz. Since February 2024, Italy has been a driving force in the EU military operations, even for Aspides to safeguard freedom of navigation in the Red Sea, the Indian Ocean and the Gulf Sea. So now various, the entire army or the entire military of the European Union is basically trying to focus or trying to secure the trades of the Red Sea. So this is one important thing. We have also increased our naval presence in India after joining the Information Fusion Center of the Indian Ocean region in March 2023. Patrol ship IT Francesco Morsini visited Mumbai in August 2023. The Italian carrier strike group is currently in Goa. We are expecting the amazing tall ships IT Amerigo Vespectus in Mumbai from November 28 to December 2. So basically how India and Italy are collaborating, and how India and Italy are contributing towards making this Red Sea, Indian Ocean and this Indo-Mediterranean part more secure. Now again I'll say one thing. See, I don't understand why some institute take 1.5 hours to complete the entire analysis. This is just sometimes it is just done to उसका hype बढ़ाने के लिए कि हाँ we have covering everything. Now after seeing the mocks and this analysis of the various institute, I have come to a conclusion that everybody is trying to, what everybody is trying to do is they are trying to portray that each and every exam is very difficult. Now exam is very easy, competition is difficult. The exam will not ask the questions out of the blue. The question will be asked जो आपने पढ़े होंगे, जो आपको आते होंगे. बट कंपटीशन टफ होने का मतलब क्या है कि बहुत सारे सीरियस कैंडिडेट्स हैं. तो सीरियस कैंडिडेट्स बहुत सारे अगर हैं तो आप ऐसा नहीं कि आप बहुत ज़्यादा डीप में पढ़ने लग जाइए, क्योंकि एग्जाम में बहुत ज़्यादा डीप में कितना डीप में पूछेगा. मतलब देयर शुड सम एक्सटेंट कि हम यहीं तक पूछेंगे, इसके बाहर हम कुछ भी नहीं पूछेंगे। बट ऑल अराउंड द कंट्री ऐसा ट्रेंड बना दिया है मॉक्स और न्यूज़पेपर एनालिसिस करके कि आप ना क्लास 12 के बाद क्लैट और एलिट का एग्ज़ाम और ये सीयूईटी का एग्ज़ाम देने से अगर आप चाहें ना तो यूपीएससी का एग्ज़ाम दे सकते हैं। वो आपको किसी कॉम्पिटिटिव एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन के लिए प्रिपेयर नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो आपको प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं यूपीएससी के एग्ज़ाम के लिए। अब आप एक चीज़ याद रखिए कि यूपीएससी का एग्ज़ाम एक बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट मांगता है कि आपका ग्रेजुएशन पूरा होना चाहिए। तो अब आप एक चीज़ समझ लीजिए कि आपको क्लास 12th में रहने के लिए आप सबसे पहले कॉलेज जाने की प्रिपरेशन करना चाहते हैं या यूपीएससी की प्रिपरेशन करना चाहते हैं। बिकॉज इफ वी अगर हम किसी भी दिन अगर हम एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से न्यूज़पेपर को कवर करें तो कभी भी 35-40 मिनट से 40-45 मिनट से ज़्यादा नहीं लगेंगे एनालिसिस कंप्लीट करने में। ठीक है, अभी स्वच्छ भारत मिशन का 10th एनिवर्सरी था। 2 अक्टूबर 2014 को ये मिशन लॉन्च किया गया था। 2 अक्टूबर 2024 को 10 इयर्स कंप्लीट हो गए, एक डिकेड पूरा हो चुका है। नाउ अब इसमें बेसिकली क्या है कि अब इस आर्टिकल में दिस इज ऑल फैक्चुअल इन्फॉर्मेशन, इफ यू वांट टू कवर इट यू कैन कवर इट। फिर इसमें कुछ स्वच्छ सर्वेक्षण जो अवार्ड थे हम लोगों ने क्लास में डिस्कस किया था, स्वच्छ सर्वेक्षण अवार्ड